Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a quick video today to sort of wrap up both December and the holiday BookTubeAthon because obviously I did my December wrap-ups but some things happened after that. This video is a little bit late. I hoped to get this up like mid-week, but the reason that it is late is also the reason that I sound a little off, which is that I woke up on Monday sick. However, I did still want to talk about the holiday BookTubeAthon and talk about, you know, what I read. So I finished Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle on Sunday. It is a young adult contemporary that is about 3 different main characters who all sort of have interlocking stories in this one small town during this big snowstorm, and obviously each author tells sort of their own little story in this interconnected day. I thought it was really charming and cute. I think that, you know, a couple of the stories I maybe liked better than others, but overall it was very charming and it was very seasonally appropriate. It all happens over Christmas. So this was for the category of read a book with white on the cover. I finished this a little early on Sunday night, so I decided to get a start on my next category, which was read a book that's a gift, which I did Holic Volume 3 of the Omnibus collection because my best friend gave me 3, 4, and 5 for Christmas. This is a series that I had read in high school and I have not read for a while, and I'd forgotten a lot of it. I forgot how weird this series is, but I mean that in a good way. Like, it's really imaginative, the art is beautiful, it uses black in a way that a lot of manga doesn't really do. Like, here's a good example. There's a lot of black space used in the manga, which creates a really dynamic visual. And also the lines are really clean and it has this really lovely aesthetic, and so I love this series. The general idea of it is the main character is named Watanuki. He stumbles into a wish fulfillment shop, basically, which is run by Yuko, this is the woman on the front, who grants wishes for a price, and his wish is to stop getting chased around by spirits that only he can see. And so he basically goes to work for Yuko to basically be her errand boy to pay off the debt of that wish. And so there's a lot of really fun supernatural elements to it. There are some fun Japanese folklore elements to it. It ties in with another series that Clamp did simultaneously called Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle. That series went crazy and kind of dragged this series into some of its crazy because they were tied into each other, but it is a weird, imaginative, cool series. And then the final book that I read for this one, which was read a follow-up, I read The Winter's Crime by Marie Rutkowski. I had finished Holic on Monday because it was a graphic novel, it didn't take me very long, so I started this on Monday and then finished it obviously on Tuesday. This was book 2 in the trilogy. The first book is The Winter's Curse. The thing is, book 2 in a trilogy is oftentimes kind of a difficult thing because it doesn't start anything and it doesn't finish anything. And so there's usually a few different ways that book 2 can go, and sometimes it's the everyone has romantic feelings and makes out a lot, and sometimes, like in this case, it's the unending misery one. So yeah, fair warning, this is the unending misery book. Nothing seems to go right for anyone. I still enjoyed this series and I'm gonna definitely read the 3rd book, but just be warned, this one's not like super uplifting and fun. And then the final book of the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge that I managed to complete was Devil in the White City. I finished that yesterday, December 31st, New Year's Eve, at about 5:30 p.m. And then went to a party and drank too much, and I was still getting over a cold, which is why I sound like this. So Devil in the White City I mentioned in my last video. It is a nonfiction book that is about 2 men. One is the premier Chicago architect who built the world's first skyscraper and was the head of the Chicago World's Fair, and the other man is H.H. Holmes, who was one of the first urban serial killers. He was caught just a few years after Jack the Ripper, and he built this like nightmare hotel that was like a half a mile or so down the road from the World's Fair, and he preyed on single women who came to Chicago for the World's Fair and, you know, for like the opportunity that they saw in Chicago. And so given the fact that there's sort of these 2 competing narratives and one is fair and one is serial killer, you would expect the fair to not come across as interesting, but actually it was so fascinating because the Chicago World's Fair, the 1893 exhibition, was something that I learned about in school, but pretty much only in college. Like, we didn't really learn about it in high school, and I'd forgotten a lot of stuff about it, and so relearning a lot of stuff was absolutely fascinating. And there was a lot of stuff that carries on through today that gets its roots from the 1893 World's Fair that we just don't really know about. Like the fact that the 8-hour workday basically came from the World's Fair. Getting Labor Day off came from the World's Fair. The overtime procedures of anything after 8 hours you get time and a half, and holidays you get double time. All of that came from union efforts because it was such a monumental undertaking. They were able to get enough leverage to put forth these changes in our society. And then there was all sorts of other things like different brands that were introduced at the World's Fair for the first time, and the first zipper was introduced at the World's Fair, all that kind of stuff that I just didn't really know about, and it ended up being really interesting. The book is also told really well because it's written more like a novel, you know, scenes are dramatized, which is why I used it as based on a true story rather than nonfiction, even though all of the dialogue, anything that is in quotations, he says came from an official source like a letter or a diary entry or something like that. So it's as close to reality as you could make it, but I still considered it as based on because scenes are dramatized. So I did kind of want to very briefly talk about the wrap-up of 2015 as a whole and what you can expect in 2016. I managed to read a total of 79 books this year. I am a tiny bit annoyed that I didn't read 80. Like, I could have gotten in one more, but oh well. It was way more than the 50 books that were put forth in the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge. Part of this was because of things like the BookTubeAthon challenge. I ended up reading extra books for that, but also I just felt like reading other things that I couldn't fit into categories. So I really enjoyed doing the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge for 2015. I will probably be doing the 2016 challenge as well. I will link to the 2016 challenge down below if you have any interest in doing it also. One of the things that I thought was really useful about the 2015 challenge was that it got me out of my sort of rut of like all YA all the time. You know, it made me read some things that I maybe wouldn't have read otherwise, and so even though I didn't necessarily love everything, like I ended up reading some things that I'd been putting off for a long time, and it turned out that the reason I'd been putting them off for a long time was because I kind of knew that I wouldn't really love them. But I'm still glad that I read it, and I'm still glad that I got out of that rut of just like the same thing over and over again. So I will be attempting to do the 2016 challenge. It's only 40 books, so I hopefully will be able to read more outside the challenge. Now that the holiday BookTubeAthon is over and the new year has started, regular Tuesday uploads should resume very shortly, hopefully this week. If you had any reading goals for 2015, I would love to hear how you did or what your favorites were for this year, so feel free to leave that down in the comments below, and I will see you guys very soon with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.